Hello and happy Tuesday, everyone. Today I've got the old acacia sapling. So this one is one that I've been kind of putting off. Definitely wasn't going to do this first for a very simple reason, and I think the best way to show you what that reason is just to go ahead and grow a couple of them. So these ones look pretty nice and aren't really doing what I was thinking about. The only real example is this part here, right? So remember when I said it was neoliberal, that they had the opportunity to use the full blocks with all 6 sides in order to make these diagonal struts. Well, I meant it kind of creates this artificial scarcity for like a digitally rendered object, but that's kind of true. If you Am I going to replace them the way that they are now? It just seems so silly. It seems like not in the spirit of I don't know, of like going with this. So I think I'm going to leave it. What I am going to do is I'm going to actually expand out a little bit. Acacia is one of those blocks where, or one of those tree types where, well, the leaf color used to not change with biome, but I don't think I can really say that it doesn't change with biome just based on this. I don't know. I mean, I might be seeing the bottom, like I might be seeing the rocks and the grass through the gaps in the leaves and interpreting that as a different color, but it really does look like there's slightly different colors on either side of this border. But the thing that makes it difficult to work with acacia is the way that it grows in these diagonals. So if I'm trying to grow something and make a frame, I have to find a way to connect those diagonals in a appealing way. And if I make a whole field that's all acacia, I have no way, or even a ring, I have no way of guaranteeing what I'm actually gonna get. So there's a little bit of like navigating uncertainty. I haven't tried it before, to be totally honest, so I think sometimes the easiest way to navigate an uncertain situation is just to try it out and see what happens. I'm going to leave this copper ore here because I like the colors. I think it looks pretty. Yeah, let's see. And I've got like stone block in my inventory. I want to kind of echo the texture of the acacia wood itself. It's got this like gray color, and I think that's really nice. Yeah, and I think it blends into the landscape, especially if there's a lot of not necessarily stone, but andesite as well. I think would blend in really nicely, but just anything gray. Yeah, it would blend in really well with anything gray. What am I doing with this? I'm trying to decide, because I don't want to just... I mean, I don't like the color of andesite, to be totally honest. It just looks like salami to me. You know, I mean, everyone's entitled to their opinions, but if you think it looks really nice, well, just Google what netherrack used to look like pre-2016 Halloween update. I don't think they even fixed it then. For years, it just looked like this horrible, like, disgusting organ meat sort of color, and now it just looks like a cool blood based rock, and I'm happy with that. I think it looks a lot better now than it used to. Yeah, and gravel they made an update too, but I feel like I don't know, it's not like the personality is sometimes lost when you make a creative decision, and then when you receive feedback on it, or just over the years, different people commenting or seeing it and they retract a decision, it makes it feel less authentic overall. And I don't know, I mean, did they make gravel look a little better? Yeah. Does it still feel like Minecraft gravel? Yeah. I mean, it's pixel art. Do I miss the old gravel? No. Yeah, so what am I saying? Is it they need to stick by their creative guns? Bring back the old Minecraft gravel? No. No. Let's see. Why am I doing this? You know, sometimes there's a color and it's not the color I want it to be. And I just change it. And that's going to be grass. Okay, so what have we got to work with? We've got sugarcane on this little corner of the island. I want to make a dock. So I am going to make a little dock. But it's not going to be anything like crazy. And I want it to actually function in a survival world, hypothetically, as a dock. I find doing this is pretty helpful, just providing a couple of little bays where things can happen, and then the really helpful thing is to have a place to tie up a lead, and then we'll go back to stairs, throw them back in there, and I think I'm going to go ahead and, oh actually, okay, I like it better there, okay. And does that look like a dock? Is that in the spirit of acacia trees to have this little turn? Now, here's another question. Do I mimic what the actually generated tree looks like? In other words, do I make the growth rings visible on that edge? I'm leaning towards no, but it's kind of an interesting question. Let's see. Sugarcane we can definitely work with though. So here we've got something where we've got like a little porch. I don't know what to do with that yet, but I think what I'm going to start with is I'm going to start with a small perimeter, and I'm trying to make like a little bit more just room and not go quite so wild with the size of these builds. I want to keep it like grounded, like yeah, something you would maybe build in a survival world with, you know, other pressures to worry about, monsters and such, right? Okay, so we've got a nice little grove here. I think the way it blends into the landscape is quite natural, and I like that. I'm going to make a little staircase going up. So there's like access. I think I'm going to go like this. So it goes up, then it goes down. You have the option here to go up, and then that can just be like that. A very boring straight staircase. And for good measure, just one way to get up if you want to here. Will that work? No. Will that work? Yes. Do I want it like that? No. No, let's keep it a little smaller. Yeah. So there's like options for navigating. There's another patch of dirt I'd like to convert to grass. And then we've got some gravel. We've got some stuff underwater here. It was a bit of a journey to get somewhere where I thought that like acacia would sort of fit into the landscape, but I did find it eventually, so that's all good. Here, let's try this. I want to take this and just extend it out like that, and maybe there, and just to give it like some solidity, add it there, and then I'm going to fill in a little bit of this, but I think what I'm going to do, because Acacia kind of looks a little flimsy, I'm not going to make it like look very heavy. I'm not gonna put, you know, I mean, it's imaginary, but I'm not gonna put a lot of weight on the structure. Yeah, just because this feels like a kind of tree that's more like meant to blow in the wind, and not, yeah, to survive by like not not being stiff. Yeah. A loosey-goosey, go with the flow kind of tree. So that's why leaf floors. Okay. For you frame rate enjoyers, I have lowered the render settings so it's more manageable. There is something sort of going on here. Maybe let's just explore that a bit. Does that make sense? So here you can trace really easily like which trees are, or which blocks were added on purpose, and which were generated when the tree was generated. Which is also distinct from when it was generated by the world, right? So like tree generation by the world is you know, it's functionally distinct. Like in a lot of places it actually does end up shaking out the same way as in as in generating a tree, like by growing it with bone meal, for example, or just letting it grow. So the post-world generation and the pre or concurrent with world generation tree generation is like two distinct categories. Even though you know, sometimes they'll come to the same conclusions, sometimes they won't. Like there's like that oak variant that looks like a sphere. I don't believe you can actually grow that. That might be, again, like outdated information, but still, to the best of my knowledge, that's how it works. So we've got a gap that like spiders could fit in, which is perfect. So you can have spiders crawl in through your floor and then jump up. I do want to have some sugarcane. I'm trying to like figure out how I'd like to implement that. I think one thing I'm going to do is I'm going to make another layer here, and then, you know, start filling this. There's a little ledge there. I think I can do something with it, but I don't yet know what. So I'm going to leave that. I'm going to leaf that. Okay. Let's see. Okay, so this brings us up to here. Is there anything we can actually do with that? I think it would be easiest to carve out a little alcove from here, and then just fill in the edges of said alcove. So It's a very leaf-heavy build. Okay, so one of the things I'm going to do is I'm going to make like a countermeasure against fire. So it's just going to be, you know, a higher up sort of block and then water. So if this burns, then, you know, it's got surfaces that'll start channeling it out into a broader, like a jellyfish, and there's lots of flat surfaces for the water to fall on. I don't know where fire would start from, but I do know that the higher up it is, the higher up the water is, the more surface area it can cover. So think of it like a sprinkler system, I guess. I could just leave it like that, but I think from the air it doesn't look as good. So, so why was I talking about world generation versus tree generation by the player? I think the reason was because let's see, these exposed blocks. I'm not really working with the landscape in the same way that I would like to, because I went a fair distance. I crossed like a big body of water to get here, just to find to try to find a place for the acacia, but I couldn't find it growing in the wild. So I'm just working with a stone island. But the reason I'm thinking about that is I get to choose where I set things down, so that has a big impact on well, just on how the structure ends up, on how this build ends up looking in the end. So here, okay, I'm trying to get out of flying. Okay, so then there. Okay, I don't hate that. In fact, I actually kind of like this. I think it's kind of cute. Let's go up here. Let's go up here. Let's go up here. Let's go. I wonder if I could. Oh no, waterlogged leaves. Yeah, no, I'm of the generation before waterlogged leaves. I'm like a boomer now, basically. I found my first couple of gray hairs, so that's fun. That's like an exciting milestone. I always thought it would actually be like more exciting than it ended up being. You know, I don't know. The passage of time is something that gets more and more concerning as it proceeds. At first it's like a funny joke, but then at first it's exciting, you know? It's like, oh, I can't wait to like reach this milestone or that milestone or be able to drink or whatever, right? But then you know, it starts changing into like a little melancholy, and then eventually full-blown cosmic horror, inevitable train of destruction that rolls over a human soul, and there's nothing you can do about it, and it happens to everybody, and you watch it happen to everyone who cares for you when you're young, and then they're gone, and then it happens to you. So I make tree houses. Let's see. That's how I cope. But yeah, aging is full-on cosmic horror. Okay. How do I... Let's see. Glass. We could try... dark green. Gray. This lime green cyan? I think we will go with dark green. Let's lose the stone for now. How does that look? Does that look really... kind of limited on options. I could do red. I want something that the copper looks good through. So maybe orange. What does that look like? Not really like I'd like. Tinted glass? Tinted glass could be interesting. Yeah, okay. Let's go with tinted glass. So there is a little space where like a creeper could spawn or something could spawn. It's kind of interesting. Let's just do the OCD thing. Or the like, I don't know. Is it unfair to refer to it as OCD? Well, I guess it depends on whether or not I have OCD. Haven't bothered to check. You should, I don't know, get the blood test. Okay, and then there. Okay, well, it's a nice little interior space. We've got a place to put a glowberry, got another place to put a glowberry. We could just kind of go nuts with the glowberries, because this gives you, yeah, a nice little opportunity. I wonder if it will let me. No, that's so silly. No, I can't. I'll just place it there, but okay, I have to wrangle the angle. Okay, angle. We'll get wrangled. Okay. Then, I mean, I'm gonna have to do the same thing again. Okay. Okay, so that creates a little gap on the outside. So let's just address that before I forget, because that's the kind of thing I'll totally forget. I can just do that, and then that, and maybe fill out that a little bit more, and then that a little bit more, and this, and just kind of give it a little bit of like volume and substance. But yeah, I mean, the one thing you really don't want is you don't want a creeper standing outside. I mean, it doesn't have LOS, so I think you're actually okay. But yeah, this one's very vulnerable to fire. So let's also address that. Why not? Let's go with the copper, because I actually do like this copper vibe quite a lot. We'll go with, let's see, we use the water for what we want. Copper bulb. Yeah, let's go copper bulb. Copper bulb's fun. These tinted, oh, the grates. The grates are great. The grates are excellent. And then block of raw copper. Block of raw copper is a big fan I am of it. Big fan I am. Let's see. Wasn't that like a character in Robots? What was that movie? It was literally called Robots. I think it was that direct. It's about, you'll never guess. You'll never guess. You know what? I'm not even gonna say, because it's impossible. There's no way. Yeah. It's a really interesting critique of for-profit healthcare. Let's see. So that and that and that and that, and we'll go up on the second floor because I'm pretty sure there's like a gap that I missed somewhere here. I'm tempted to just run some water out here. It would end up flowing. I mean, the problem is it'll just fill the leaves. But it would, if it works out, it would probably go down here and then cover this hole and make like, cover this whole hillside and then make like a wash. And I'd like to prevent like baby zombies from coming in, so I kind of actually do want that. Here, let's try this. And because I'm making something smaller, I can actually be a little bit more grounded. So, oh, this is so back and forth. Water. Here we go. We can get rid of this for now. Sure. Let's try there so it doesn't crash out, and then maybe if I do something like and then exactly there and there. And does it automatically fill in the bottom here? Is it flooding me out? Is it? Hello, sheep. Sheeple. Okay. Oh. Huh. Okay. That's not what I expected to happen, but that's really interesting, actually. Huh. What do I do with that? You know what? I think I'm going to keep it. I think that's neat. So a little feature. Where is the corner? Is it there? Let's see if I can get it to swim. Come on. Oh, it's being silly now. It's being excessively silly. Unlike me. Okay. Maybe that's better. I mean, I don't want to leave like bare dirt exposed that way. But I suppose it doesn't really matter. We could do this and we could do this. That's better. And then, I don't know, could I connect those? Oh, that's really interesting. Huh. Okay. What does that do? It feels like it should have some kind of purpose, you know? Oh my goodness, okay, double tap is really fun. It's in settings. Which settings? For what? Do the settings actually take effect, or does the software work in such a patronizing way as to prevent you from changing what you're actually trying to change? Let's see. So I think one of the things that so basically I reminded myself, but I can explain. This island generally points in the direction of home. So I crossed an ocean to get here, and I don't know. That's it. That's the whole thought. How's the grass coming along? That's coming along pretty nice. So I'm trying to remember what it is that copper bulbs do when hit by lightning. I think they just send off a very short pulse signal. So I'm going to make a little lighthouse here by copper bulbing it. And I think, so what is it? Lightning rod. Okay, I'm gonna get rid of this, and then I'm gonna go for lamp. Redstone lamp, and then I'm gonna go here, and 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 here. So we've got this nice little thing going on, and then observers are nice because they have this property where if you just face one observer towards another. They'll observe each other. Let's see if I can. Okay. I always got to remind myself how this works. Like that. And then like that. Yeah, and it creates this like interesting. I'm trying to remember, does copper bulb pass the signal on? I should know this. I really should know this. Yeah. Okay. But now the question is, do I just make this 2 blocks wide in order to... I was really hoping it would pass on the signal to the neighbors, but it doesn't seem to be doing that. So we can get rid of those, because that's not really what we're interested in anyway. One thing that we could do is, well, let's start with this. Okay, we want to make the tower double wide, so that it looks... Actually, you know what I'm going to make it out of? I'm going to make a base out of this, but I'm going to make the whole thing just so it looks a little flimsy. You know, for the Victorian era. Cheaper to build, a little outpost sort of thing going on. Okay, and then we can try this, where we make a diagonal, just connecting, and another diagonal, and connect it, and another diagonal, and connect it, and another diagonal. I think I'm going to leave it like that, because that does look like it's sort of anchored into the ground. And there, yeah, we've got sort of a flashing, you've got sort of a strobe effect. I didn't have to do that much for it. And this is going to turn like a more green color, but I think I'm still going to put some acacia on this whole thing, and just kind of like weave the leaves into the design. Let's see. Oh, you know what I can do? Let's go like this. Okay, so observer, we want here, and we want there, and we want it here. I wonder if this is going to make some kind of impossible feedback loop that it's not going to like. Probably. Yeah, I mean, we want the arrows on the top to be facing the other way. So you see how the arrows are facing away from each other here? I want to replicate that. So how do I do that? I think it's like this. Yeah. And then this one needs to be looking this way, so it needs to be like this. Yeah, and then that one needs to be going that way, so it looks like that. There we go. And it doesn't like putting it there because probably it's changing state in the exact same tick that it's being placed. Does that look like a pattern? Does that look intentional? You definitely see it from a distance. Okay, and then, yeah, we do want a lightning rod here. So how do we make that? Does that work with that? Okay. I think that easiest way to do this is just to do 4 lightning rods, and not worry so much about having exactly one. But yeah, so that'll keep them like constantly going back and forth between a state of oxidized and unoxidized, which I think adds to sort of the livingness of the block. Here, we've got this again. And yeah, the waxed variants I'm not using. How does that look? That looks okay. That looks okay. So then I think I'm just gonna build an acacia tree and not try to grow something that'll like match. Maybe closer to the bottom I'll throw something in. Let's just do that now. I think you'll probably notice that the frame rate has gone down just in building that little thing. You know, it is a little intensive, I guess. I was hoping for something a little bit more, with a little bit more personality. Okay, all right. Let's just try doing that. Because I said I was just gonna build one, so why not just build one? Let's go up a little further, up a little further, up a little further, and then I think about, does that feel too high, too low? I'm not sure. Let's also fill in the gaps here so it actually does work as a stairway. So if we're going stairs, we can have that and that. And we can go there, and we can go here, and here, and here. And then, I mean, I want to keep this looking kind of precarious, you know? Precarious, nefarious. I'm so good at naming characters. Let's see. Yeah. Does that look walkable, really? That's kind of, yeah, let's get rid of that, and then, okay. Okay, I'll live with it. It could be better, but it also could be a lot worse. So let's stick with it. Like that maybe, and then like this. I gotta get away from this thing. This is such a lag generator. I'm sure there's a less processor intensive way to do this. This is probably, I mean, this observer is noticing that this observer is changing state and then sending a signal to this, which is lighting it up. But then this is also getting a signal. It's just all very random, right? So this is getting input from here and from here at random. So then it's competing. So you're kind of getting the two randomnesses stacking on top of each other, and that's happening for all of them. And the brain has this way of like interpreting patterns in random noise. To make it look like maybe it's spinning around or something, but if you just watch it for long enough, any pattern that you see will just slowly evaporate and just be replaced. So yeah, it's easy to see patterns where they actually don't exist. Let's see, there, here, a little bit more here. There, there, a little bit more here. Let's go out a little bit just to make it look like this one is a little bit more of a unique branch, even though it's pretty much like all the others, just to get some variety. Let me throw this one in here. Let's see. And this was a concept I played around with a little bit. Well, like trying to capture energy from lightning. It seems like so doable, right? I mean, it's literally a spark of electricity. Should be possible to contain it in some way and then use that energy. And I still think that should be possible. I think it's just what is the word? I mean, it's so much at once. It's very difficult to contain a massive discharge like that all in one battery or I don't know. You need something. You need something that can contain that much energy, and it's like a bomb going off. It's a crazy amount of energy in a lightning strike. But the reason I'm talking about that is I'm wondering about different ways, because obviously, like, if you want to power lights and things like that, in Minecraft it works because all of the energy that goes into making the world is coming from the computer. So I mean, it seems like effortless energy, but it's really the energy that is being spent running the computer that is powering these lights. But in the real world, if you were trying to have a tree city with actual lighting, the energy's got to come from somewhere. And I mean, is there enough spare energy left over from photosynthesis? Possibly. I mean, photosynthesis is a pretty inefficient process. I'm not gonna just like make up a number off the top of my head, because I remember learning the number and I forgot what it is. But it's definitely not 100%. The initial step of capturing the photon and turning and creating chemical energy from that, I think one of the chlorophylls or both chlorophylls, that process is really efficient, like scary efficient, like efficiencies that we don't see in anything else. So that's nice, but it's not the overall. It doesn't directly correlate to the overall efficiency of photosynthesis. So my point is, it might be possible to divert some of the energy from photosynthesis. If you can make the whole process more efficient, you might be able to divert some energy. And have lighting powered by the same energy that then powers photosynthesis. I mean, if you think about it, there's those like garden lights that you can plonk down in the garden. They're solar powered and they can run all night. So even just with like, an area of light that's like not even the size of a credit card, with an area of solar panel that's not even the size of a credit card, you can run a light all night. And if you combine that with the efficiency of like only lighting it up when something is nearby, or someone is nearby, that feels like a great way to increase the efficiency. So we've got a lighthouse here. I think I'm gonna take another layer here just to cover it with leaves. But yeah, if you wanted a totally fruit punk city where everything is grown out of trees, could you power it 100% with photosynthesis? Maybe, but I feel like the benefits of hydroelectric power and wind and other renewable energy sources like waves aren't worthless inventions. I think there's definitely room for them. And how do you incorporate sustainable modes of energy generation into a system of like living organic technology, would be my question. So gotcha. Don't know how to answer that one, do you? Not so smart now. Okay, so that one actually looks more like a tree than this. Huh. I think that looks pretty neat. Let's just try if I can. I just want to walk up it and make sure that I've made a real staircase and not a mimic. It's just meant to pretend to be a staircase. Yeah, exactly. So this. There we go. Let's see. Can we be able to just? Yeah, that's easier. And then that, and then this, and then we'll do exactly the same trick there. And then this is like that, and then this is like that, and then yeah. So we have space here. There's a little place where you can theoretically fall down. Okay. No. Double tap. Double tap. Double. Okay. Awesome. I don't care. Okay. I mean. There we go. So there we go. That's okay. And then maybe I'd like to slow it down. But one of the benefits of having it really high up in the air like this is that annoying clicking sound. When you're on the ground, you can't hear it. So yeah, we've got the acacia tree, we've got the whole lightning tower / lighthouse. Yeah, so the thinking is, right, like if you could capture, for example, a lightning strike, channel its energy into what it is literally just a battery, could you then use that to power something else? So let's illustrate that by just running a branch this way. Okay, so it's just going to be this. And then I think I'm going to put dirt on the side. Give it a little bit of embeddedness in the landscape, a little bit of relation with it. So you see we've got this sort of like gradient of like gray to green. And I think I'm going to throw a couple more blocks in here. Again, to make it a little bit more, yeah, just integrated. Okay, so it travels over there, it snakes up there, it goes around this way. At this point, I kind of want it to be more clockwise. Like, I want it to be like here and then loop around, so the tension sort of works out to pull the tower in. This is kind of pushing it out. But then at the same time, if there's a big storm, you'd actually kind of want, like, you don't want the structure to fall over, and that's why it's getting anchored on all four sides with these struts, again imaginarily. But if it is gonna fall down, you'd want it to fall into the ocean. So having this branch kind of come down here and then hold from here does kind of bias it. If it's gonna fall, it's either gonna fall that way, or maybe it's gonna fall like that way. But it's not really likely to fall back towards the lightkeeper's house here. So that's good. Imaginarily good. Yeah, and then I don't know. I think what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna make this into a little bit of a protected zone. So I'm just gonna carry this up. So there's a wall. But yeah, I mean, you really, like, the problem is, at some point, you always have to transition from you're out open air with no roof to now there is a roof. But when there is a roof, there's always the potential for mobs to be on top of the roof. And so as soon as you go to walk in, they drop down on you. The nice thing about leaves is no mobs are spawning on top of this. So, I don't know. I mean, I think I'm going to just let that be the security feature. And then maybe I'll just extend this and maybe actually cut this down a little bit. So it's more like most mobs aren't going to be a problem. You might still get spiders. So you get spiders underneath the house. You'll get spiders able to climb up onto this porch. But I'm going to throw in a door, and that's going to cover up some of this. And I'm going to have to, ironically, grab those stairs again. And I'm going to have to fill this in order to place a door, because you can't anchor a door on leaves. Tyrannical. Absolutely tyrannical. You know, like some kind of dinosaur. Do you think they named it Tyrannosaurus Rex because they thought it was tyrannical? That's probably exactly the reason they named it that. I don't know. I feel like there's. I don't really like this. I don't really like this corner. Because what is it really? Kind of. It's just a big mass of wood. It's very strange, and then it's just enclosed by like a short retaining wall. I don't know. I don't really know what to make of it. I think I'm gonna have it as a little platform, but I'm gonna remove most of this and just kind of leave it up to the imagination what the purpose of this is. And maybe just throw another lightning rod in here for good measure. There. No. Let's put it... where do I put it? One here. One here. How does that look? I think it looks just fine. It's a nice blend of colors. It's a nice blend of like sizes and shapes. But it does kind of have a weird... Well, let's see. Where do the stairs come up? The stairs come up here. And then let's grab some stairs. And then... Okay, so the stairs come up from the dock. You come to here, you see the water feature. Now here you're going to want to get onto this thing somehow, and I think that's perfect. And I think if we throw some leaves on there, that works. Yeah, so I don't know. The tree then sort of collecting energy. So if there's like a tidal mechanism harvesting energy, then that's literally okay. So what am I talking about with this? Actually gathering energy and bringing it over, as literal as a wire, right? A copper wire. You need something that's conductive and able to insulate. And there are carbon-based materials that are conductive, so carbon nanotubes, and there are carbon-based materials that are insulative. Again, like plastics, like the insulation that we do use. Those are chlorinated plastics. You don't really see chlorinated carbon-based compounds in living systems, but they're rare. It's not that they completely don't exist, but they are rare and they tend to be toxic. They tend to release chlorine and yeah, not be great for the environment. So making a biological source for the insulation would be a problem, right? Because then you're having a living thing create something that's toxic, and that's actually a survival advantage. So, which I think is probably the most effective. If you're doing anything that is, genetic engineering related, anything that offers a survival advantage is going to make whatever edit you made more prevalent and last longer. So I think it always needs to be remembered that it's a collaboration with an organism. You never get 100% of the control in that situation. Yeah, I mean you can try and force it to create a gene or create a drug, and like farm, a pharmaceutical compound with bacteria, there's always the issue of like contamination from within. So bacteria reject the edit, and the ones that reject the edit have a survival advantage over the ones that don't. So you have to keep going back to the same original stock and resetting it to maintain this artificial situation of creating your pharmaceutical compound, or your situation. So, is there a way to create a survival advantage for an organism through one's edits? So what am I talking about? I'm talking about if you could. I mean, I've done molecular work. I've done cloning of bacteria. It's a long, intensive, step-by-step process, and it takes a lot of years of work to achieve very, very small results sometimes. So I salute the people who are willing to do it. Am I still willing? Maybe. Okay. Let's refocus. So if you wanted to collect energy, let's just pretend that you can collect the energy from a lightning strike this simply. There's just lightning rods on the top, a big copper pipe, and that then has some jiggery pokery magic sauce in this column here, and that column converts that into a current that's usable and can be passed along, a carbon nanotube hybrid based wire that's insulated and integrated into the bark of this tree. So imagine there's just a thin line that is electrically conductive with an insulator, and it lives in the bark, and it's grown from the bark's tissue. Or it's something that you grow separately somewhere else, for example, as like a vine, which we don't have any vines. I think I want to add some vines. Let's see, what kind of vine do we want? I think I also want to add, there's something I know is really cool, but let's start with the vines. So you could grow it as a vine separately, or some other kind of like long stringy structure, some kind of plant that makes this. I'm going to be very minimal with it. I guess I know this is just like a little place by the sea. This isn't a huge island, and I don't think they get a lot of precipitation. A lot of imaginary precipitation. Definitely don't want to accidentally, convince anybody that this is real. So glow. There we go. That's what I'm looking for. And let's try this copper and this copper. I like those. So the thing I wanted to show was, okay, actually I'm going to throw a couple more like raw materials sort of staged on this platform. But this is one thing I think looks really cool, and it especially looks cool as it oxidizes. So this time lapse, I've been posting basically not really a time lapse, but just video of these host trees over time, so that you can watch the vines grow and just see how it like, I don't know, how it evolves over time. But I think with copper oxidizes really slowly. All the glowberries are basically grown to the length that I would want them to be at anyway. So I think I'm gonna throw some of that in there. But the copper oxidizing, I think, is a cool part of this, especially with the whole tree. So like genetically engineered something copper wire that's not copper, a carbon-based wire, or maybe a series of copper binding, some proteins that bind copper, landing them in a line to make a conductor that then goes into the house, and there's a gap between the conductor and the ground, and the ground is literally the ground. You're on a big rock. There's an ore body in it, so it can take electrons from a high energy state to a low energy state, and these glowberries would be basically in between that process. So you're just using traditional electricity, but it's mediated by a living structure. So these glowberries, imagine that there's a no longer correct way to say it, but I don't know the name. The name that I learned for this plant was, but it has another name, which I'll put on screen. Basically, what it is it's a parasitic plant. So it has, I don't know if it has a root system or not. I think if it does have a root system, it's very minimal. But basically, its survival strategy is to integrate into the bark of the tree and just survive on that. There might be an association with some fungus as well that helps mediate that process. But basically, it's a plant that grows by parasitizing another plant. So it's like a mosquito on an animal sort of relationship. But if you had something like that was able to create, for example, a gallium nitride crystal, like you see, like an LED. One of the forms of LEDs are gallium nitride. So if this glowberry produces a gallium nitride crystal, and on one side you have a, this like organic bio wire entering, and then on the other side you have another wire that's the ground state, and that connects to the ground. There can be an electrical panel. We can really flesh this out fully, at least on the conceptual level, just by throwing something that looks vaguely electrical into this space. We'll throw one of these up, right? That makes sense. So yeah, that manages. There's I just imagine there's like a bond wire that goes into the ground, and you get your electrical apprentice to dig this hole. You're like, this should only take like an hour, and they're digging and digging and digging. But this isn't where you would use like high grade copper. You just use some ore and some thin stuff, right? So there's our ground wire. There's our electrical panel. Here's power in, right? So the panel just mediates a series of circuits, and every circuit handles a set of lights. But here, I mean, the only thing you've got are the lights. So it's not really a huge power consumption. And let's go ahead and add an interior, because I'm on a roll now with this. I think I did say I struggle with interiors. So let's try and at least rectify that to some degree with some chests, some crafting table, some furnace action. Let's keep the raw copper around because I think there's still a usefulness for it. We haven't done anything with the sugar cane. I don't know if we will. But yeah, let's just throw in some storage and a crafting table and a couple of furnaces. We could say that these are like electric furnaces or something. How do I want to do this? I'd really like to have it on that black glass. Let's see. Actually, you know what I'm gonna do? Because this is sort of the material we've had in this space so far, I think I'm gonna keep. Well, there's water cooling. Okay, so I think I'm gonna make the furnace room sort of like quote unquote fireproof. And yeah, just kind of satisfy that little itch in my brain for realism in this entirely fictional setting. Let's see. Let's go like that. So this makes it look like it's a geode or something almost. But yeah. Galaxy Quest. This looks just like the beryllium sphere in Galaxy Quest. I wonder if that was intentional. Almost certainly not, but I wonder. And I mean, the smithing table is a nice little, like, decoration. Did we put it there? I think so. I think so. Okay, and then, or that's better. Yeah, no, that's better. So then this is kind of in its own little contained, curtained-in area. Does that help? I don't know. I mean, I kind of want to have it. I mean, if you think about like sparks shooting out of the front there. Okay. Okay. Let's not overthink this. Let's not overthink it too much. Let's overthink it exactly the right amount. Okay, lantern, just for good measure. I think it looks pretty. And then we can throw another one in here, just to complement the rest. And yeah, I mean, let's throw in a bed, right? Why not? What color? What color do we go? I think we've done a lot of copper. We've done a lot of orange. So our options are kind of copper and teal, and I do teal. I love teal, but you know, I use it for everything. And if you're a ketchup enjoyer, right, you put ketchup on everything. But at a certain point, you're like, let's have something a little different. So I think I can cheese this a little bit and use that to place the bed. I really want one. And then this to keep the block that I actually want it to be on. Okay, that looks good. And then, yeah, I mean, it's a pretty basic bed, but we have got space for, again, a lamp. Yeah, so there's a space for the lighthouse keeper to sleep. There is a place for upgrading gear. That's like way too advanced for what this actually is. I should probably throw an anvil in here too. I think I'm going to throw this down if I'm going to do that. And just look up anvil. And let's say they haven't had a delivery in a little while. So the anvils are like not in super good shape. Okay, tons of storage. There's a little loading dock. It's got a bunch of supplies and materials, some of which is covered in algae from the ocean, because we've got the sea spray coming on. We've got some vines. We've got this thing. I'm going to cover it with a lot of leaves, but not completely with leaves. Just kind of have it like embedded in the wood here. One more. Yeah, so I mean it's traditional electrical circuits, but they're just embedded in this organic framework. And then LEDs. There's also OLEDs, so organic LEDs. Organic doesn't mean alive, it doesn't mean good, it doesn't mean natural, it doesn't mean healthy. It means that it is a chemical compound that contains carbon and is complicated. So there's some limitations, right? Like we don't consider chloroform to be an organic. I think it counts as an organic solvent. But it's just carbon and 4 chlorines, if I remember correctly. Or a carbon, 2 chlorines, and 2 hydrogens. One of those. The point is, it's just something that contains carbon. And there are carbon-based compounds that have that property of being able to create light after being able to create light by mediating the drop of electrons from a state of high energy to a state of low energy. Let's see. So in the long run, probably we could engineer fully integrated electrical circuits, or just electrical circuits that are integrated into a house tree sort of structure, in the same way that grafting or parasitic plants are able to survive on the metabolic energy. You know, you've got a way to then connect more like physical energy and physical ways of generating renewable energy into a house tree structure, sort of like this. Yeah. And as a bonus, I think it looks really pretty. On that note, I'm Symbiosister. Be sure to like, comment, share this video, subscribe, follow me on Patreon. I post everything that I make there for free. The benefit that you get as a member is you get to see it 2 weeks early-ish, if I remember to publish everything at exactly the right time. And sometimes I'm like a couple days off, forward or backwards, but it tends to balance out in the long run. So, thank you very much to my long-term supporter on there, Sasha. You make these videos feel like they're worth it to at least one person, and I hope that if you watched this, you enjoyed it, and I hope you have a good day, and I hope that you remember that no matter what you're going through, no matter what your situation is, it is always Tuesday.